without further ado, we're going to dive in on this very relevant and timely topic, thinking about OT cyber assurance and resilience. And what we're going to be talking about in this seminar is recognizing change remotely that is happening in your industrial code base and being able to act decisively because of the tools that Copia delivers. So how we got here today, this is what Copia is focused on delivering. It is Git-based source control for collaboration. So our Git-based source control is focused on process improvement and being able to amplify your team at an exponent of change and empowerment. If you are familiar at all with DevOps, when DevOps was introduced in 2009, the research ever since that point, the last 16 years, shows that teams that use DevOps tool sets are 10, 20, 100 times more impactful with what they do. It's been researched in so many different ways, cut in so many different ways, it has been validated. Think about mass production versus custom production. That change when you moved into mass production changed the game. It was an exponent improvement. Then think about lean manufacturing, the Toyota production system. When measured against mass production, it was an exponent of change. It is the same thing here when you apply DevOps, industrial DevOps tool sets to the manufacturing environment and introduce all of these different pieces that Copia is bringing to the market. How we've understood this is a lot of research to help validate our findings, and that is a lot of customer research, but also market research to see the trends out there, to see how industrial DevOps is picking up. And our latest research report will be coming out in the next few weeks, and you can pre-register for it here with that QR code if you'd like early access. This is one example of the data that's packed within it. More and more devices are coming into the operational technology space. OT has gone from having few manageable devices to devices seemingly everywhere. It's been doubling over the last every 5 years for the last decade plus, and it looks to continue with that, more and more devices. And just for everybody's perspective, we often find that where Copia fits, especially in this OT cyber conversation, with our backup and disaster recovery product and tools, it's been hard to understand it because IT has had this for a while. So this slide is a newer one that we're bringing to help contextualize. While the left side here is not everything in the IT stack because it is massive, this is a simplified version to try and help see where different components are similar. And if you're in the IT space and using Rubrik or Commvault or Veeam, that's in that backup and disaster recovery realm where Copia is today for the OT space. Some of the things we deliver, change management, and that's that whole DevOps tool set of enforcing rigor around code, having tracking, traceability, visibility into everything's going on, allowing people to collaborate in the same code base to be able to merge code, branch code, bring it all together, and move so much faster without operating without visibility in a check-in, check-out system where people might be saving that locally, then they upload it, and you have no idea what code is on the PLC running your automation. Backup integrity and recovery, you have, with our device link tool that Caitlin's going to show, the verified and clear updates, how the updates have gone the last 5, 10 times that you've updated, has something changed, and then through the combination of our platform, you're able to see who changed, when they changed it, what notes came with that, why. And that leads into that access control. Really important features when we talk about OT cyber and building assurance and resilience. And this might be familiar if you've joined our webinars in the past, but really thinking about the process, understanding what assets you have, that's step one, basic, knowing that asset inventory, then bringing in Copia to back it up, and implementing security protocols, establishing disaster recovery, because it's not enough to just back it up. What do you do after you back it up? You test it. How quickly can we get back up and running in an event, running those disaster recovery test scenarios, speed to recovery, that mean time to recovery, that MTTR metric. And almost lastly, Copia today, we're going to be touching on most of our platform. We have Copia Copilot, Git-based source control, and device link, the backup, automated backup, and disaster recovery. If you missed it, Copia was recently named a Hot Tech Innovator in ABI Research's recent report. Feel free to check that out. And again, you can pre-register now on our website for the next second annual State of Industrial DevOps report. And with that, I'll hand it off to Caitlin, and thank you very much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jerry. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump into the Copia software. So starting out, like Jerry mentioned, we're going to walk through device link first, and then we'll tie source control in to create some more visibility into those changes and just add in some other practices there that can improve that code quality as well. So starting out here, we are going to be in the device link part of Copia. So this is really going to be your overview. If you're managing, several sites here, this is just going to give you a list view of those sites and give you an idea of what's been set up within those and what jobs are running there. From this view, you can also see this graphically. So if you are wanting to understand, what's going on at each of these sites, this is a great view to understand, how many backups have run at these sites, what the status was of those backups. So this is giving you a breakdown of, up-to-date jobs. So that's indicating that the code has not changed as compared to what it should be. And then your modified jobs are going to detect that the code has changed here. So that's going to indicate to you that some modifications were made. And typically that will require, some sort of action there. Maybe that action is to go take a look at it, just review it. Maybe that action is to review it and then revert back to a previous version. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. And then also you could have failed jobs, if the processor went offline or something like that, that's going to indicate to you that you need to go check on some of those as well. So next, I'm going to shift into the site view. So this is going to be a little more granular here so we can see the breakdown of the jobs that have run and the information related to those jobs. For this view, you can also set up notifications. So if you want to know when a job runs, what that result was, you can get that sent straight to your inbox. Those are set up within your user account. So if some users need that information and others don't, you can customize that. You can also set it up to where you're only being notified when modified or failed jobs occur to cut down on some of that noise if you don't need to know every single time a job runs. Additionally, you can set up reports. So if you want to know at the end of the day or the end of the week, similar to those graphs that we just saw, you can get emails sent with that information as well. Once you've got that set up, or if you're keeping an eye on the site within Copia itself, you'll probably get some modified job results coming in, which indicates to us that some code changes did occur. So in those situations, you'll want to typically view the changes that were made. So in this situation here, we'll be able to click view details to see that, or you could follow the link in your email notification. From here, we'll just click that view details, and that will take us to that modified job result. The top section will just be our job card information. And then as we scroll down, we'll actually get to see the changes that were detected in that backup that came back as modified. So this is going to show us within the code, specifically what those changes were. Within the project tree, it will be condensed down to just the project items that had changes. We've got 3 main icons here. We've got our modified icon indicating that something in there changed, our added icon indicating that this is new in the project, and then our removed icon just stating that this has been deleted from the project. You can then scroll through and click into those different project items, and you'll typically see some highlighting of red and green. Red is going to be the deleted items, and green will be the added items. So this is going to give you a very easy understanding of what those changes were that were detected in that modified job result. Once you've reviewed these changes, then typically, you'll either accept these and say, this is fine, these changes are understandable and continue on, or you may see that there are some changes in here that are concerning and you may want to go back to the previous version. So the first way that you can do that is through back on our job history page here, you can easily access the previous result. If you want to filter by, that specific device, you can filter by that and easily find the backup right before it. And then you'll just click on the down caret here and we'll be able to click download files, and that will give you a copy of that file. Then from there, you'll be able to go download that to the PLC quickly to revert those changes that were detected in that backup. Another option that you can do for going back to previous versions is tying in our source control process. So within source control, you'll be able to more proactively track your changes instead of relying on device link to catch those changes as they go out to that device. So when you do that, it will populate with a history similar to this. So we'll see all of these results here from the Copia Backup Manager. These are going to be modified job results that came in through device link. So that's just catching those changes that went outside of that source control process. And then some of these other commits, you'll notice there's a user account tied to them, and then you get some summary message here indicating what was changed. Those are going to be the versions that were added through our source control process. So this gives you a little bit more visibility into who made the change, when the change was made, and why that change was made. From this view, this is also giving you a good breakdown of who's using that source control process and how frequently, modified backup jobs are coming in outside of that. Then from here, you can always click to those different versions of the project and see those changes, and also grab copies of those from your history if you need to revert back to them as well. One last thing I want to tie into this process from the source control side is going to be the code review process. So if you don't want to just assume that modified backups should be accepted as the gold code when they do come in, you can build in a review process here so that when a modified job result comes in, you do take the time to go in, review those code changes, maybe leave some comments on them. So when that happens, you can go in, assign reviewers to take a look at them, and then they'll come over to this files for review page. And this is going to look similar to what we've seen so far with the rendering, but the difference on this page is that you can leave comments directly on the code. So if you want to call out that maybe something specific needs to be reverted and not the entire project file, you can go in, leave that in your review. Then maybe somebody can go in, grab that file, make those changes as necessary. Once all of that review is completed, you can give an approval or you can request changes up here when you submit your review, and then that's going to pull all of your comments back over to this conversation page, and then you'll be able to see all of them in one place and also respond to them if needed. The other great thing about the comments is that these will be retained in your history. So if you do need to come back to these in the future to remember why you decided to keep those changes, you can always reference these down the road. I think that's everything I have as it relates to device link and the source control side of things for today's demo. So I'll pass it back to you, Jerry.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. So we'll give it a minute. If there are any questions from our audience, please pop them in the Q&A now, and I'll give that about 30 seconds to a minute. And if there's no questions, then we can break. As always, thank you to everybody in our audience for joining. Thank you, Caitlin, for the explainer and demo. I feel like I learn something every time watching you about the features and functionalities, and it's so cool to see Copia in action. And I also run the case studies, and I always appreciate hearing the benefits from our customers. Looks like we don't have any questions, so we can break it out here. Thank you again, Caitlin, for taking the time. Thank you, Joe, for the intro, and thank you to our audience. We appreciate you, and please reach out if you have any follow-up questions in the future. Thanks, everybody.